Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a video on my honest thoughts and opinions on New World after over 1,000 hours in the game. Now, obviously a lot of you guys will have probably done the maths by now by seeing this title and realised that that is impossible since the release, so full disclosure, this has included my playtime during previews and betas as well, which I'm obviously not going to go into too much detail because now we've got the full game that's more relevant, but I am going to talk about the progression that I've seen from those phases into now and why my opinions are as they are. So jumping into it kind of straight away here, I'm actually going to start off with the PvE side of things. So this is for, you know, obviously killing your mobs, your elite zones, your expeditions, that kind of thing. And in New World, I think this is something that they have done well. I really enjoy it. I think there's a lot to it. There is a lot of good systems in place in terms of things like the high watermark system, of course, that gives you something to grind for at the end game. And I do think that the drops that are exclusive or the legendary type drops that you can get from certain expeditions are really good. But I do think that Garden of Genesis and Lazarus Instrumentality are basically the only ones worth doing when you do get to that high gear score, which is a big shame. Now, I know there's been rumours of, you know, potential additions coming to the dungeons further down the line, and I definitely would hope to see this because I do think that obviously it's something that's there and it's very fun the first few times, and it's fun, particularly those last two, like I mentioned there, just to grind that gear score, try and get, when you do get high up, trying to get those, you know, 600 legendary drops, because some of that stuff is very good. And obviously we've had rumours of potentially more being added, but I do think expanding on these and also maybe adding like a hard mode, a hardcore mode, a super hardcore mode, something like that, you know, really challenging timed runs even, and that give better and better rewards, maybe some specific things that are only attainable through these methods. And of course, as time goes on and either the level cap is increased, the gear score cap is increased, they bring out new areas with new things that you can craft. There's all this kind of other stuff on the table that does coincide with this, but I really like the foundations that they have got for the expedition, so my hopes for that is that they do improve it going forward. Generally, on the whole, elite zones are fun. They give you something to grind for. It's particularly good for obviously getting your recipes, particularly your legendary tier 5 ones, in obviously all of your different crafting varieties there. Also gives you a lot of crafting mods. It gives you a lot of crafting food items for the crafting when you do go ahead and do those as well. And of course, you get all of your drops from things like mining when you're going along there and you're mining your platinum, your orichalcum, all of that good stuff. So it is very good and well thought out. I like the layout of these. I like that none of these zones seem to be copied and pasted, which is very good because a lot of games get lazy, so that's something that's really good. But I do think that there is still a lot to be left to be desired within the PvE side in terms of content and actual end game content. As I say there, you know, you've kind of got your elite zones, which are replayability to a certain extent, and a couple of those end game dungeons, but hopefully going forward we can see that expanded on, because I really do enjoy it, and I think that the mechanics work really well. I think that the way that everything's designed works really well. We just need more of it, and obviously that will come. And now that things are starting to get fine-tuned, which is something I'm going to move on to in a moment, I think we can start to see maybe some future content on the horizon. Now, like I said there, obviously fine-tuning, a lot of players came back to the game after 1.0.5 was released, because this is probably the best patch we've seen since the game came out, to be honest. There's been several other patches that have been released, obviously 0.1, 2, 3 and 4, which were fixing a few things, you know, changing other things, you know, kind of messing things up along the way, if we're honest about it. And finally, with 1.0.5, we seem to have gotten an update here that kind of flows with what we wanted to be seeing as a community. It seems like they really have listened into players' feedback. They really have looked at what the main bugs were that were kind of destroying the game, which obviously was the exploits, you know, things like the war lag, and of course Outpost Rush not working properly, because that is really the end game content. And so when that's now been fixed, I have had a lot more fun on the game, and that is tenfold compared to what it was before. So that is a really positive impact, and I think that anybody that hasn't played since the latest update last week really should hop back on and give it a try now that all this has been implemented. You haven't got things like the hatchet glitch, you haven't got things like the great axe glitch where you would have everlasting bloodlust. So having a much more of a variety involved, I think, is a very good thing, and I think going forward we will start to see that now, as a lot of these issues have been addressed, particularly looking at the war front. I did make a video covering this the other day, the territory wars going forward. We're looking to see quite a lot of things kind of being implemented, changed, kind of improved, going forward in terms of war. Obviously, they did a big dev post concerning this, and essentially what we're looking at seeing is you know, a lot of balance changes if we need them, so that it actually makes sense how the defense and offensive attacks work. We're looking at things like siege changes potentially as well, because obviously right now you've got hit scan on the repeaters, and you've got, you know, the cannons that can kind of explode in an area. You've got ballistas, which are really good at anti-siege, so enemy anti-siege. There's a lot of different factors that play into it, so they are keeping an eye on that. But I think that the way the PvP plays out right now is really, really good. But we will have to see what happens when, of course, they do finally fix up things like the Onyx gem, which still, to my knowledge, is kind of a bit broken, and a few of the other gems which kind of just apply general protection bonuses rather than just a specific thing. Some of them are just applying like a global protection buff, like resilience was, until they fix that. So hopefully once that's fixed, we can really see where the meta actually does lie. Like a lot of you guys will have realized now, you're taking a lot more damage from players that are using light armor with things like the rapier or the mages, and of course even bows and muskets are really, really playing a big part now that actually that whole resistance thing from void and anything with resilience has been lowered. So I think generally that's a good thing. It means people are actually able to get the kills, particularly in wars. If you've got a good strategy, you can see yourself getting some really, really good victories. So I think that is a very positive change. But going forward, it'll be interesting with the introduction of new weapons and different areas that we can see what is going to happen there. Now, on the topic of territory wars, I do want to kind of touch on the fact that, you know, there is obviously Winds Would Never Fall, which generally are the main hub of every server. Every person that's been in the comments here has told me that Winds Would Never Fall are their main hubs. You look on Reddit, it's the same. You look on the Twitter, it's the same. You look on the forums, it's the same. So what they have speculated at, and what I kind of had a little guess towards the other day, was when they released another dev post kind of detailing that each settlement would be given a unique advantage, which is the reason players will want to go there. So we don't actually have any confirmation on what this officially is yet. I made the speculation that it could be something along the lines of, well, certain places can have a tier 6 thing, so maybe a tier 6 forge in one area, for example, which would give a plus 20% chance to create those additional items when you're using it. So obviously for those min-maxers and for those players that have got the rarer materials that you can only craft a certain finite amount of because they're rarer to obtain in the first place, obviously excluding things like Cosmodium, which is capped, you can get an additional chance to craft those things there. Now, obviously, there's 11 places on the map and only 10 different unique refining and crafting stations, so they would have to double up one of those, but I'm sure there's a way they could kind of fit that in nicely. So maybe we'll see something along those lines, and I really would like to see some incentive to going out to those further ones away, because currently on my server, my company owns both Everfall and Morningdale, and Morningdale, we're struggling to keep up with it. It's not making the money. Everfall obviously does cover both of them, but it's ridiculous how much better having Everfall is than it is to have one of these outer ones. And of course, yes, you do get cheaper fast travel for your whole faction, and of course your company. You do get cheaper housing and things like that, and we are getting some money from it, but it's nowhere near, you know, we're probably getting maybe 3,000-4,000 a day off Morningdale, whereas Everfall, we're getting a minimum of 3,000-4,000 an hour. So it's very, very good. You know, per day we're looking at 30-40k from Everfall. Per day from Morningdale, you're looking at maybe, like I say, 4 to 5k. So something to encourage people to expand and explore, particularly if they are going to include that global market, which they've talked about, you know, a few times in blog posts now. We're looking at seeing maybe all of the trading posts be linked together, which I think honestly defeats the point of what we've seen so far. Everyone grinding up in different areas to get access to, you know, cheaper crafting, refining, etc., trading even. Then what does it matter if you can grab it all from one post? And on top of this, it's going to strongly discourage people from actually traveling around unless they're actually farming the materials themselves. And on a lot of servers, they're so cheap that it's just worth buying it, particularly if it's going to be you can buy everything from one place. So personally for me, unless they're bringing out some new element to this with some future zones, so that it's going to be all of the old worlds in what we've got now, the base game is going to be connected, and then they bring out further zones which are connected to things like Shattered Mountains and such, and they're going to be linked in a separate way, then maybe that could work. But currently, as it stands, I don't think that linking all of the trading posts together is the key to the economy at all, to be honest. I don't know what the key actually is. Unfortunately, I'd love to give some more constructive feedback, but I do think, you know, obviously increasing the finite of these resources, reverting the change on the crafting materials was an absolutely great addition because we were getting an abundance of those, but there does need to be somewhere to get the market back up and booming, and I think that this sort of like unique areas for each of the zones could be something which we can see absolutely help to fund this, and I think that'd be really, really good. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see what they have there. I do think there's still a lot that they can do and should do going forward in terms of things like balancing still. Of course, everything isn't perfect, but the game has been out just around a month now, so there's still time, okay? It's very early doors, but I think they are very aggressively approaching the updates, the resolve, the customer side of things in terms of the players, what they want. They're listening to feedback, which is always a really, really good sign. And obviously, if they can maintain this going forward, I think that's going to be great. So we do just want to see kind of where we go in the next couple of weeks. But I wanted to make this video off the back of the 1.0.5 update because it has completely changed my perspective on the game. As I say, I've been playing since the previews, and we've seen stages of the game where you were getting gold for every mob you killed. You were getting more XP for killing mobs than you were for questing. There was all sorts of crazy things going on in the preview stages that they've changed the game so many times. Obviously, we didn't even have expeditions at that point, so that's something brand new that's kind of come into the game, a couple of months before launch. So actually, to be at the state that they're in with that much high-level development and the intricacy of them, including things like the puzzles, how they actually work in terms of layout, and of course, the ability to be able to farm them for some good gear score, particularly Genesis and Lazarus there, it is actually a very, very big accomplishment, and I do think that this is something we're going to see a lot more expansion on. In terms of PvP as well, we have always had Outpost Rush there, but, we've just seen it completely fixed now, which is really good. I mean, I haven't personally encountered any bugs, so if you guys know of any, please do drop them in the comments so we can get those, maybe looked at and fixed a little bit quicker. But personally, right now, I'm not seeing too many, just the odd lag thing, which is kind of what happens in online gaming. Anyway, we can't expect it to be perfect, but generally, it's been a lot better, and the wars are something which are really, really good, and it'd be interesting to see where we go going forward in terms of, potentially additional zones being added. Are they going to be capturable? Are they going to link up with Shattered Mountains, Great Cleave, and Eden's Grove, where they're uncapturable outposts? Will we see an update in the future where those outposts can be captured? And if so, what capacity does that bring? There's a whole host of things that we could see, going forward. So I think it is a very exciting time to be playing New World. I'm very, very much hyped for it again after the previous update, which is, again, like I say, why I wanted to bring this video, because that much change is coming. Kind of the future updates we've seen advertised on the forums by the developers, talking us through PvP balancing, faction mission balancing, in terms of influence, that's getting balanced as well. They're also looking at, like I said there, the territory wars themselves, how that works, whether defenders are winning enough of the time, whether attacking's winning too much or winning too little, and basically just keeping an overall eye on the entire game, which is, I think, a very, very positive thing. So, as I say there, we will have to see what happens in the near future of the game, but right now, I'm honestly really enjoying it as an overall perspective, kind of as an answer to the question that I've posed this title as, my honest review, my honest feedback. I think the game is absolutely fantastic. I've really, really enjoyed it. For me, the combat works very well, is very impactful. I've enjoyed the PvE and the PvP side of things equally. I haven't found one to be better than the other, although in terms of things like Azoth and Gold, obviously Outpost Rush is by far the biggest winner. There is options for both styles of players, as well as people who want to just craft. We've got a lot of crafters in my particular company, and they're really enjoying the game too. I really like the grind level that the craft brings in, but also the level that you can actually get to pretty easily if you just put the work in, which is rewarding and it's nice. I would like to see them bring out some more professions, some more crafting, because that is a lot of fun. But obviously going forward, again, there's tons of room for that. Again, additional weapons would be amazing if they are balanced correctly, because that would bring a whole new level to the game, which would be a ton of fun as well. Particularly in terms of territory wars, it will really spice things up. If you're bringing in things like a dagger, a void gauntlet, for example, things that we've heard of potentially coming to the game, that would be really, really cool. So I am very excited to see what the future holds. There is a few things that I would still like to be worked on, and as well going forward, looking at the trading, that trading post thing, like I mentioned there, I'm not too keen on that as of yet. But when we get a bit more of an explanation as to what that is actually going to be, it could be something that I'm down for. If it's something where we actually see it improves the server economy massively by them doing that, then I'm all for it. So I'm not completely against any of the ideas they've risen. It's just kind of make sure we see what impact it's going to have on the server before it rolls out, is what I would say. But overall, very happy with the game, thinking it's going in the right direction, especially, as I say, after that last update. Huge improvements. So let's go. Fingers crossed that going forward, we're going to get this same level of communication, same level of kind of influence, and kind of listening to the community aspect that they're bringing right now, because obviously as the game develops into further stages, we'll see how that relationship between the developers and obviously the players develops as well, because that's going to be a huge part. But hopefully it continues to be good, and I'm excited to see what we can bring in the near future, hoping for some new content soon, or at least some teasers of some new content. We got that Gamescom teaser. Where's that information been, or where's that content been since then? We shall see. But overall, it's looking good. I'm enjoying the game, especially after the lag fixes, and hopefully as more stability issues get solved involved across the server as a whole. It'll be very, very much an enjoyable game all round. So for me, it's a big, big yes. I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping. I'm optimistic. But as I say, I will keep you guys updated with all the updates, all the news, all the kind of posts that they put out so that we can keep on top of this and see how it goes going forward. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed my opinion. If you've got any comments, questions, maybe you disagree, maybe you want to add something on to something I've said, drop it in the comments below. Let's have a nice general discussion, see what we think about the game together as a group. That'd be amazing. If you are new here to the channel, make sure you do drop a subscribe, as I do upload every single day, so it would be amazing to have you here as part of my channel community. Make sure you drop a like on today's video, as it really, really does help me out. And other than that, guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Take care and peace.